Abel. Now Abel was a keeper of sheep and Cain a worker of the ground.
Okay. So if you notice, it says, and she conceived and bore Cain. And bore Cain. And then later, and she bore his brother, and again, she bore his brother Abel. So there are these two ands, right? These two extra ands in a way. And the rabbis say that that's because in each case, a twin sister was born with them.
Really?
Yes, yes. That's,
They made that up.
Made that up, right?
Well,
the whole story's made up. But
I'm saying there's nothing, is there anything else? Just
no,
corroborate.
but Midrash is the explanations and interpretations and understandings where there are questions or holes in the text, where there's something missing. Say, well, how are they going to now procreate the rest of the world if it's only two boys? You know what I mean? So they said, well, there was a twin sister born with Cain, and actually, we're going to look at the Midrash. It says, and she conceived and bore Cain. They say that there were actually two sisters born with Cain and one with Abel.
Oh, so she conceived, that's why.
Direct translation of the Hebrew.
And yeah, the word is just and. So there's no, this is just their interpretation that there were. You have a question? What?
Sorry, she couldn't see because I was.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, so the word and means that there were two sisters, because otherwise, how did the rest of humanity come about? So they're looking for that. What?
Was there incest?
Well, yeah, kind of, since there's nothing else. And that's not the first.
It started with the Adam and Eve, so, you know.
Well, they were like.
They were within, they're like today's,
Right. Okay, now, Abel was a keeper of sheep, which means he was a shepherd. And Cain was a worker of the ground, which means he was a farmer. And, you know, if we look at even, you know, in America, there was always, and certainly in the world, there was always this rivalry to this day between the nomadic shepherds and the fixed farmers. And you can't be on our land, but we need grassland. And it's always been, you know, I was thinking about Oklahoma, and there's that song, "The Farmer and the Cowman Should Be Friends." And the man, it still was happening, you know, all the way up through this thing between this is our land and then no, we need to nomadic. So it's kind of reflecting that already, that there was this tension. Yes.
isn't it such that many of the shepherds became, you know, the leaders, right? Because like
Later. Yeah.
later, but the shepherds became.
Yeah,
leaders.
it's true. I mean, classically, you know, Abraham was a shepherd, Isaac was a shepherd, Jacob was a shepherd, Moses was a shepherd, David was a shepherd, Jesus was a shepherd, they say. So it's like, yeah, that it's kind of
Yeah,
Maybe it's a personality trait.
yes, or when they're creating character to take care of, to care.
better job in the home, what you become or whatever.
Right, but also it shows a caretaking
Yeah,
ability to watch over. So there's that idea. Okay. So in the course of time, okay, I'm sorry, remind that Daphna, do you want to read in the course of time?
In the course of time, Cain brought to the Lord an offering of the fruit of the ground, and Abel also brought of the firstborn of his flock and of their fat portion. And the Lord had regard for Abel and his offering, but for Cain and his offering he had no regard. So Cain was very angry and his face fell.
Okay, so what happened? What happened? And you know, anybody at home who's on Zoom, what happened? What was the problem here? What do you understand? Rebecca, what happened?
Wait, what's the question?
What happened?
What happened? The offering by Cain was not accepted. It was a substandard, I guess.
Right. So
know that it was not accepted.
Okay,
What clues are
What-
there?
Good
that-
question.
okay, do you have an answer?
No.
Oh,
What clues are there that this was not a
the-
favor?
yeah, how do we know it was not accepted? So apparently, you know, when you give a sacrifice, some kind of fire comes down or fire goes up and, or some way, they don't really tell us. That's a very good question. You know what? Hold on. I want to look at my Eitz
I'm curious how the
Comment.
Hebrew might
Comment about that
explain.
because, when they have like a firstborn of the flock, it's usually without blemish, right? And to have no blemish, it's very difficult. So they're giving up something very important.
Mhm.
Right, but what Daphne was asking is, and I want to see, how did they know it was not accepted? And let me look if they tell us.
Like, to what extent is Abel interpreting it? Or
Exactly.
How clear is it?
The man knew I have gained male child, keeper of the sheep, told his sire. The choicest of his firstlings, Abel's offering is described to appears to be thought with a full heart and mind. You're right, it doesn't explain. It doesn't explain. Okay, here, okay. This is the best book you should buy to study from, because it has
The commentary.
commentary. So, yeah, Cain and Abel each brought an offering to God. It would seem that the urge to thank God for our blessings and to return to God a small portion of that which God blessed us is innate, blah, blah, blah. God's favoring Abel seems arbitrary with no reason given. The sages, however, search the text for clues. That's what I love. Some commentators fasten on the Torah's mentioning that Abel brought the choicest of the firstlings. That's in the text. Whereas Cain merely brought an offering, a fruit of the soil, not necessarily the best. The words translated as for his part can be understood literally as he too, implying that Abel brought himself to God as well, you know, his heart.
He feels personally rejected. He
Okay,
includes himself.
so wait, along with the words in the course, okay, it does not explain how they knew that God accepted one. And so what do you think would be a way to signify that? We can write Midrash now.
The sibling rivalry, and Lord, why did that come about?
But wait, the question is, that she said is, it says that God accepted Abel's offering, but not Cain. But the question is, how did they know God did not accept one and accepted the other? What signified? Lori and then
I'm
Dawn.
just wondering, you were talking about fire. You
Yeah.
know, a bolt of lightning may have come down on this perfect
But it's
sheet.
not in the text.
No,
Well, I said, well, no, but we're like speculating.
The fact that God liked Abel, because the story would see.
Yeah, but how do we know? Yeah, well, Cain ends up killing Abel because of this. So what happened? What happened? What do you think?
Like, how much of this is God actually preferring one over the other, and how much of it is the man just interpreting it wrongly?
Yeah.
Well, the next paragraph.
The next paragraph says that he feels very sad and God talks to him about it. But we still don't know. Anybody up there? Anybody in Zoom land? Rebecca?
Well, I think the key is that Cain's expression, rather than feeling like he put his best foot forward, the text says that his face fell, that his countenance fell, meaning that even though his offering wasn't accepted, he didn't stand his ground. In other words,
No, but the question
he accepted his.
is, the Lord had regard. It says the Lord had regard for Abel and not for Cain. The Lord accepted it. How did they know? What did they see or hear or understand? Yes.
I would think that Cain wouldn't have any speech, like, actually speaking, because he was rejected.
But how did he know he was rejected? How do you know? I mean, if somebody rejects you, you turn your back, you look away, you go like this, but what happened? Yeah,
So this is pre-temple times. There
Right.
is no official procedure for making
Correct.
sacrifice.
right.
So this is all very rudimentary. They did it themselves. We don't know what their protocol was, but if they built a fire and burned it and interpreted the way the smoke moved or the size of the flame, then they could subjectively say, this was a bigger fire, it was more pleasing. This is a smaller fire, it was less pleasing. But I have young children. The reason I ask this question is their face fall and they get upset for nothing, right? Like, you took the bigger cookie. It's actually not a bigger cookie,
Right.
right?
So it's in their mind.
It's like maybe he just looked at the way the flame was and created this whole balagan for nothing.
I think that's good, except you'll see that God says, why are you angry? We're gonna, the next paragraph sort of clarifies that. Yes.
It seems that we know that Cain's gonna kill Abel.
We don't know that yet.
No, but when they write the story, it's like, well, if Cain killed Abel, then it had to be that God liked
Yeah.
his sacrifice better. I think they take the story and they make it fit.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean it necessarily happened or that God said this or something. It's just that if Cain killed Abel, then there must have been a reason, and it must have been that they didn't like his sacrifice.
Okay, well, Abby,
Well, because the sacrifice of the firstborn and the unblemished, you can't get better than that. And that's you're giving up your best thing. So of course God would like that better.
right, but how do we know it? Okay, so let's
That's considered one of the ones.
but so it's totally like subjective.
No, like to get.
Okay, if I like you more than I like, if I like you more than I like Sue, how do you know that?
Okay, but
Rabbi, may I say something?
Sue gave her a $1 gift, and I gave you this $100 gift that was so rare that I had to work so hard.
Okay,
It's the sacrifice of giving this unblemished.
so did I give some kind of indication that I rejected the $1 gift?
No.
Well, then how do you know? Okay, well, let's move on.
One to then another.
Yeah, okay, Susan Janot. Then the Lord said to Cain. Third paragraph.
The Lord said to Cain, why are you angry, and why has your face fallen? If you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you do not do well, sin is crouching at the door. Fire is contrary to you, but you must rule over it.
Okay, so God is basically saying what?
God is saying that he saw that Cain was disappointed, and God doesn't know why he's disappointed.
Well, I think he does.
Why are you angry, and why has your
Rabbi Nanis, may I say something?
Yeah,
I think if he saw, God saw the jealousy in his face. In
Yes,
his back.
he could, but God says, if you do well, will you not be accepted? Okay, so try again.
I mean, I like yours better.
But if you do well,
Yeah.
if you try again and you give me something better, I'll accept it.
But we still don't know why Cain knew that the first thing was.
Exactly. We do not know that. We do not know that.
Well, have you ever, like, you give somebody a gift, and you think, oh, yeah, I took a gift, but then you see the gift that somebody else
But
brings,
God,
and it's much.
but you can't see God's face, so how did?
No, but I'm saying, but Cain may have assumed that, because he
that's
saw
what it is. It's
that, oh my God, he brought something much better than I brought.
That makes more sense to me, but that's coming from Cain and not from God.
Oh, yes.
So it's like,
Okay,
he
so
saw that his brother brought this amazing offering, and whatever this perfect unblemished thing that grew in the ground was.
no, that was a perfect, like, sheep or something. He gave the animal, right?
Which is
But
the
that was,
highest sacrifice.
but that was Abel's gift, right?
Right. Cain didn't give it. Well, God seeks to comfort Cain in an important but enigmatic utterance. And then there's different understandings of it. Say, if you have lived an upright life, you will be able to bear any misfortune or undeserved affliction. Another midrash says, sin couches at the door means if you take yourself to the house of study, you will be safe, for sin has no power there. Oh my God. This is unbelievable how these Hasidic rabbis imagine there was a yeshiva in like pre-Torah,
Right in
right. Yeah.
So Israel, when the ultra Orthodox send their children to study at a seminary, and they are, is this what they do? They are interpreting
Yeah, they're
And
reading
so-
all the commentaries.
interpretations. So there must be so many interpretations.
Well, they
How do
probably,
they pick what goes in your book?
okay, they probably study, they don't have their own interpretations. They probably study these are all, like these ones I'm reading are from like famous rabbis. These are scholars and they're studying commentaries. There are commentaries. I like today in 2024 for us to also speculate because we have a different view and some things we don't know. But this now is like a huge question. Lori, just read, Cain spoke the next thing, verse 8.
Cain spoke to Abel his brother, and when they were in the field, Cain rose up against his brother Abel and killed him. Then the Lord said to Cain, "Where is Abel your brother?" He said, "I do not know."
Okay, let's stop. He said, I do not know. Oh, am I my brother's keeper? The most famous part of this story, am I my brother's keeper? But in the Torah, there actually are these dots, dot, dot, dot. Doesn't say what he said to him. So now it's like all this speculation of what did he say to his brother. And so I'm going to ask you what you think you may have said to him. And also at home and on Zoom. What do you think, Diane, what do you think he said to his brother? And then
Can I go back one paragraph? It looks to me like they give God human characteristics.
Oh, yeah.
How is that explained that God speaks like a human? How is that explained?
Human, like, where is your brother? Like he doesn't. Okay,
Well-
so is that what you're talking about?
Yes, there's a lot that said, and the Lord said to Cain.
Oh, well, in the early Torah, God
How did
talks.
I get away with that?
In the early Torah, God talks to people all the time. This is our most ancient stories, and they have humanized God or given God these qualities. Our commentaries would say so we could understand, just so we could connect and relate, because God is so beyond that.
But God doesn't really speak.
Well, no, but in the stories, God do. But these are like, thousands of year old myths. Remember, these are myths that we have then found values and ethics and things. I mean, one of the big things is, am I my brother's keeper, is a big question in Judaism. And we know the answer is yes. Yes. So there are these jewels and gems within these mythological stories. We don't
take it literally.
No, it's all metaphor or a parable of something deeper. And this is the story of the first murder, and also it's reflecting sibling rivalry. It's reflecting, competition already, human nature. That's the amazing thing about the Torah. It really reflects human nature, and not necessarily the best of human nature, but sometimes the worst. And sometimes the Torah is showing you what not to do.
That's what I always say. Is that, in my opinion, it was written retroactively.
Oh,
And that obviously, but I'm just saying, I don't think most people think of it like that. Is that something like I use the dog bite? Your dog or horse or something bites somebody one time, it's fine. It's not a problem. But if they do it again, it's a problem because it actually happens. They didn't make that part out, in my opinion.
They wouldn't write about it if it didn't happen.
Exactly, right. But they only write about it after the fact.
right. So, I mean, I always say in the Torah where they say don't do something, it's because people are doing it. There's a very famous story about, they asked Queen Victoria, homosexuality is illegal, but lesbianism isn't. Why is that? And she said, there's no such thing. as lesbianism. That doesn't exist. I mean, in her mind. So they don't say don't do something unless, right, you're right,
Interesting, but you're right.
right.
I never thought of that before.
What?
That homosexuality was illegal, but lesbianism wasn't.
Wasn't, right, because nobody really believed that happened. So,
You can imagine it.
and actually there are very many women who lived with women. They were called Boston marriages. Boston marriages in America.
We heard more about what the men did.
Yeah, but that
It's interesting.
anyway, Cain said something to his brother Abel, and there's like so many. Cain said to his brother Abel. The Hebrew does not tell us what was said. The Septuagint, which was the Greek version, says they added, "Come, let us go into the field." In other words, he was inviting him. Yeah, he lured him because God does say your brother's blood, we're going to hear say, is crying out from the ground. So he said, come, let's go into the field. So, all right, so we'll continue that. And then he says, Hashomer ani anochi, am I my brother's keeper? And then the Lord says, Lori,
What have you done? The voice of your brother's blood is crying to me from the ground.
okay, so the Hebrew word for blood here is plural. It's damim, not dam. And it says that this Cain has not only killed Abel, he has deprived Abel's potential descendants of their life. He's killed a generation. You see the opposite of that. We might add further that when a person is murdered, the murderer kills something in the survivor's souls as well. Oh, he's killed something in himself. Their lives will never be the same as they were before. And the same as if you sustain or save a life, you've changed. But, you look at the reverse of like the end of Schindler's List. Okay. The end of Schindler's List, where you see all of those, like a few thousand descendants from the people that he saved at the end of the movie. And this is the same, this is the reverse. Think of all the thousands think of the Holocaust and how many millions of Jews we lost that could have given something to the world. Okay, so now we have this, okay, so what, is there any idea, anybody else thinking of what Cain said to his brother Abel? And why do you think it's left out? Why do you think it's left out?
It's so shocking. It's left out because it shocked everyone.
Oh, it's to say what?
To say what he said.
What, do you have any idea what he might have said?
He might have said, I'm jealous, I feel hate, and I have to do this.
Okay.
You are my enemy?
You are my enemy?
Aren't you going to help
I'm
me?
thinking, why did you have to show me up?
That's what I'm thinking. Why are you always such a
Because they're
Brown nose or whatever.
whatever?
Yeah.
Jacket.
You think you're so much better.
You knew that would show me up, and you did it on purpose.
Anybody home? An idea, Diane?
Maybe Abel thought that his brother insulted God by bringing in an inferior product.
Okay, but it's Cain who spoke to Abel.
Right. Well,
he-
Abel killed Cain. So Abel said to his
No,
brother,
Cain killed Abel.
Cain
Cain was the killer.
okay, the other way around then. Maybe he said you brought an inferior product and
Right.
you embarrassed me. Not quite like that, but
Right.
I'm ashamed and you need to go.
Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else there on the Zoom? I just want to make sure I'm not leaving anyone. No. Okay. I think also, oh yeah, go ahead, Mary.
Is that he would say, God will forgive
Who would say that?
Abel.
For killing.
Cain. No, you mean Cain for killing Abel?
Well,
Cain
and they could both say it. God will forgive us.
That's interesting. Now, I was thinking, it doesn't matter what he said. Sometimes words to mean nothing. It's emotion and it's action, and then you strike out with barely saying anything, and then it's too late.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think I was thinking about like the fact that they don't say what he said, because it doesn't matter what he said, it's what he did, because words are not what kill, it's action. So there's no excuse, no provocation that can justify it. And then they went into the field and he killed him. And then he said, I don't know. So who else lied to God? Do you recall? Well, Adam was hiding. Remember, he was hiding from God, and
what's Rebecca? Leah. Wait, I gotta.
oh, she lied to her husband, but she
Yeah.
didn't lie to God. God talked to her about that. But I mean, there's this like, I'm hiding, I'm afraid, and it's very childlike, right? They're still very primitive people. This is the very, very beginning of humanity, and also, here's something. Do you think that Cain knew that he could kill? I mean, when he hit him, was he aware that you could take a life?
Well, if you look at it from a courtroom kind of, he lured him into the field. So was that premeditation?
Well, but he might have.
But maybe he just wanted to hit him. Or I mean,
Because
all I'm saying is there's been no
this is my punishment.
murder, no death yet ever. So how would he know? My
It's like
daughter
an
would.
animalistic instinct that he may not have thought about what he was going to do. He just acted
Exactly,
in a blind rage.
Maybe.
He knew how to kill a sheep. He knew what.
No, that was the other one. He's the
farmer. They knew, not at the time. You're saying they didn't know,
That's
but
the
I'm
point.
saying they did know. Because they knew how to kill animals and
That's could be
So-
which
they did know.
that's interesting. I think about my daughter where my niece was like bugging her and she was like 3 and she just punched her in the face. She didn't have and then it was like no, but it was like she didn't have any words. She didn't know what to do or whatever, and she. Yeah. So I mean, you're right though. If they had sacrificed the sheep, but did they? Was it a sacrifice like that? Maybe he offered a live sheep. We don't really know what the gift was.
Well,
we know
she.
No, it just says he brought the offering of a fruit and the first.
fat pork.
Oh, and you're right. You're right. They knew how to kill.
I know.
You're right.
Like when Joseph was in, when they put Joseph in that pit or something, and they lied. Where do you know where he is?
Oh, yeah.
But they lied to the father.
They
Yeah,
lied
they
to
lied,
didn't
but
lie to
not to
God.
God.
Not to God, to God.
Oh,
Right.
Right. So why do you think God is asking questions if God knows the answer?
Oh, Rabbi, may I say something?
Yeah.
As Donna, I've seen the basis of all of these bad acts is jealousy.
Jealousy is one of the bases, but why would God in this story ask questions that God should know the answer
he
to?
wanted them to tell the truth.
He was testing.
You wanted to see our reaction.
See their reaction, see what they would say. There is no
So that they can learn too.
To be honest.
Like a teacher will ask questions they know the answer to, but you want the student to think and learn.
right. And the Torah is kind of telling us that God knows and sees everything. God.
Yeah, but I think it's also, it's a warning and it's like a teacher. It's saying, don't do this. This is gonna happen.
But sometimes that doesn't work and you have to put your hand in the
Yeah,
fire
but
and
I
find
think
out.
that most
Mom
of
was
the
right.
Torah is like that.
It's like a warning, you're saying?
Yes, I think it's to keep people under control is what it's.
Or to
trying
keep them,
control.
well, this is what happens when they don't have any laws.
Correct.
This is what happens. They kill, they lie, they hide. So,
Yeah, but they do it with laws.
well, I mean, how much more? But here, this is pre-laws. There's no laws yet. Okay, so he says, what have you done? Okay, now, okay, Linda, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Linda. And now you are cursed from the ground. Wait a minute, hold on. I have to show, I'm not paying attention to my people. Just giving them text. Here go ahead.
Okay, and now you are cursed from the ground, which has opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. When you work the ground, it shall no longer yield to you its strength. You shall be a fugitive and a wanderer on the earth.
Okay, so what does that mean?
Get that.
Oh, yeah, but what's the result?
You don't way to make a living.
You're gonna be all by yourself.
Okay, well, first of all, you're a farmer and now nothing's gonna grow. Nothing's gonna grow. You're not, you can't, and you're gonna be a fugitive and a wanderer on the earth. So you're gonna be wandering, and there's this idea of the wandering Jew. This is based on this story.
The
Yeah.
thing is that if we're saying he didn't know he did wrong until God told him after the fact.
No, I was asking you that. I don't know if that's true.
Okay.
I mean, he obviously knew because he lied.
Yeah, right.
He said, I mean,
How could he know that he didn't do wrong? He knew.
well, we were saying that there'd never been death before, so maybe he hit him and he didn't realize it would
Oh,
kill
okay.
him.
Sorry.
Okay,
Rabbi,
Bonnie, just a minute. Bonnie, yes.
so I have a question going back just a little bit in this. Do we know what the Cain and Abel's relationship was like growing up? What their relationship was with their parents? Was there sibling rivalry? Was there anything that brought them to this?
To this point, we know nothing, but we can assume that their parents were very inexperienced. I mean, they already grew up and they already had professions, and they'd all been. What?
No, they could have been 7 years old working the ground.
No, they're adults. They're adults. Because well, we assume they're men, but we don't know anything, Bonnie. We really don't know. And it seems like it doesn't, I mean, this jealousy or this rivalry seems to happen in many level, no matter who you're how you're raised, but we can't imagine Adam and Eve knew much about raising children since they were, knew themselves to life. But
Do we know how to raise children? No, it gives us a manual.
okay, so now we have like Cain's emotion. This is very interesting. So Mary, Cain said to the Lord, wait, hold on. Let me just wait a minute. Let me hold on. Wait. I want to give this to everybody. Go ahead.
Cain said to the Lord, my punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold, you have driven me today away from the ground, and from your face I shall be hidden. I shall be a fugitive and a wanderer on the earth, and whoever finds me will kill me.
So he's afraid. So do you think he is remorseful?
Yes.
You think he's remorseful?
Here it says, all the commentaries explain this, Cain confesses, so they say that the meaning word miso bears forgiveness, as in forgiving inequity.
So, yeah, when Cain repents, God diminishes the punishment. So they're saying that Cain repents.
Right.
He says, this is too great to bear.
Right, so he does.
Oh, and he also says,
I don't know if that's remorse, though. I think he's kind of bummed at the punishment. He doesn't even mention Abel when he talks to God in this little part.
You have banished me for this day from the soil, and I must, you've driven me away from the ground, and from your face I shall be hidden. So do you think that's grief? I can never connect to God again? No?
God's supposedly all seeing. So
No.
how is that?
Well, it means I can't.
Cannot.
Blessings from you, pray to you, get anything, any protection from you or anything. I'm going to be cut off from God. Yes.
So earlier when he gave a sacrifice, it wasn't
Good.
pleasing to God and his face fell.
Right.
He was disappointed, which implies he wanted the favor of God. He wanted the approval.
Good point.
Relationship with God. And now God's face is hidden. He can never have that relationship with God. So he's even in a worse position than he was with the bad offering. So I think that is a large thing that he doesn't like about his punishment. Like I was trying to be a good like servant to God, and now I'm cut off from God. So I have no hope. There's nothing that I could ever do to win back God's favor.
Yeah, and it's interesting, it's God that's not forgiving him.
Well, God does forgive him
Yeah. Then he's
in a second. But here's a commentary. When Cain repents, we'll read that, God diminishes his punishment. This causes Adam to reproach himself. This is all midrash. I love it. Saying, if only I had known the power of repentance, I could have had my punishment reduced as well. You know, he was kicked out of Eden, right? And then the commentary by the rabbi who wrote this says, we think we cannot change the past, but repentance is so powerful that it enables us to change our sense of who we are and reduce the power of the past to determine our future. Beautiful.
But at the same time, yeah, exactly. But at the same time, God isn't allowing him.
He's not an obvious example of repentance.
Yeah.
The words would have been more clear. Oh, I hurt my brother. I didn't mean it.
And also God gave him this punishment that it was like there was nothing.
Well, I guess the rabbis read it as sorrow and grief at this terrible punishment. Oh my God, this is too. No, you're saying no repentance, but they seem to read repentance.
Sorry, he got caught.
Yeah.
But
He doesn't say, oh my God, I killed my brother. What have I done?
I'm a terrible person. No,
Or whatever. He didn't say anything,
well,
as far as I know.
yeah. And he says, now I'm going to wander around and anybody who meets me will kill me.
That's fear. No, that's it says. Cain says it is true that my sin is too great to be forgiven, and thou art righteous. So he's.
Oh, that's midrash. That's not in the text.
No, it's from.
Okay. So, okay, Mary, did you read?
I did, but I can read.
Okay, read a little more. 15.
Okay. Then the Lord said to him, not so. If anyone kills Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And the Lord put a mark on Cain, lest anyone who found him should attack him. Then Cain went away from the presence of the Lord and settled in the land of Nod, east of Eden.
Isn't that interesting? Because John Steinbeck wrote a novel called East of Eden, and it's about two brothers who are rivals, right? One is Cain and
plagiarism.
Inspiration. But okay, so this is interesting because I was gonna
make his life worse, like because he
no.
stands out.
Well, that's what I thought. I thought it was a mark of a curse, but I'm rereading the text because we always. And no, it's to protect him and say, God, he's under God's protection and you cannot kill him or you will be punished. And so,
But does that ever happen? I mean, I've never heard of that. Really. Like, you don't really hear about that any other time, do you?
hear about what?
That God
somebody
marked
with a mark.
with a hex, you know.
It's not a hex though.
I know, but I meant like a mark
You know, it would be like a cattle.
to protect it.
A cattle brand. Well, listen to this. This is not a stigma of infamy, but a mark signifying that the bearer is under divine protection.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Perhaps some mark on the body or forehead served the same function as the blood of the Paschal lamb smeared on the lintels of the doorposts. That's interesting. I can't think of anyone else who was marked.
I mean, it's not a
Scarlet
Jewish thing, you know what I mean?
Catholic scarlet letter.
Yeah.
Scarlet letter, yeah.
No.
The only mark that then becomes a permanent mark is circumcision for all men, which is a mark as well. But you can't see it.
Theoretically, are not walking around and people can't see it.
That's true. That's true.
Mhm.
No, but that's interesting that,
But it's interesting because that made Jewish people God's chosen people, the circumcision.
Yeah, the circumcision.
So it's sort of the same thing as the mark is protecting them.
I also think it's interesting if we think about, he says people are going to kill me. And so God's putting a mark on him to say you shouldn't kill him. But isn't it kind of like also a message, don't kill? Isn't this not coming a message? Oh, where's everybody? Sorry. They can see us. They can see us. isn't there a message there that says, do not kill, even a murderer kind of is a message against capital punishment in a way.
But this also begs the
Yeah.
question that he didn't, somebody said before that he didn't know what murder was. He knew exactly what it was, because 2 sentences later, he's saying, well, everybody's gonna come
Kill me.
because I did.
You're right. Well, now you're right.
I've seen animals being
Yeah,
slaughtered.
right. Though according to, the creation story, we're not supposed to kill animals. They weren't supposed to be eaten. They're supposed to be vegetarian.
Well, part of the Bible, you are vegetarian.
Right. Okay. So now we go to. Okay. So wait, let's just finish it. Cain said, oh, blah, 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 blah. The Lord said to him, not so. Okay. Cain knew his wife. All right. Leslie, do you want to read? Cain knew his wife. Right here.
Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bore Enoch. When he built a city, he called the name of the city after the name of his son Enoch. To Enoch was born Irad. I might be really butchering this, sorry. And Irad fathered Mehujael, and Mehujael fathered Methuselah, and Methuselah fathered Lamech.
Okay, so first of all, who's his wife? And I told you it was the sister of Abel. They cross-married.
Yeah. Say that again.
Okay, so Cain and Abel each had twin sisters, and according to the Midrash, they married each other's twins. You know what I mean?
And she also had, this one also, and she conceived and bore Enoch.
Right, and then she had a baby.
Well, that was very convenient for the Bible to have, a boy and a
it
girl
was.
twin and a boy and a girl twin, right?
But also there's something else here that we see Cain did, which is pretty amazing. What did Cain do? He built the first city.
And named it after his son.
Yeah, Enoch. But I mean, he built a city. So I find that really interesting. Did they talk about that?
Were there any people who was living in the city?
Yeah, right, exactly.
All the relatives.
It says the soil being accursed and unproductive for Cain is put to use by him for wholly new purposes. He becomes the founder of urban culture.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? So that okay, I can't be a farmer. I'll work in the city. You know what I mean? So all of this is written, of course, after the fact. So they're looking at like the creation of cities and sibling rivalry and human nature and how it all started.
Civilization.
Exactly, the developments of civilization, which is, I was so proud of original Jewish creation because it's with light and words and whatever, but we quickly descend into human frailty and murder and violence.
It's also sort of shows that Cain, I don't know, you might think I'm nuts. It has some strength of character. God is like, you can't be a farmer anymore. He's like, okay, I don't like that. And I don't like my punishment and all of that. But I'll go start a city.
You're right.
He adjusts.
He's a Jew.
He's right. What? Well, that's part of what I'm
thinking. He isn't a Jew. There's no Jews yet. I know.
But
okay.
he moves on.
Okay, Abby. And Lamech took 2 wives.
And Lamech took 2 wives. The name one was Adah, and the other was Zillah. Adah bore Jabal. He was father of those who dwell in tents and have livestock.
Okay, so now he's back to like nomads or Bedouins or whatever. This is how that culture started.
But it's also the shepherd.
Right.
His brother's name was Jabal. He was the father of those who played the lyre and pipe.
Okay, so here's it's like the gods, you know how you have the different gods and goddesses who started music and started arts and started city. So these are all the descendants from the original Adam and Eve. And how did Lamech have 2 wives? I mean, where did all these women come from and whatever? Go ahead.
Okay. Zillah bore Tubal Cain. He was a forger of all instruments of bronze and iron. The sister of Tubal Cain
was Nama. Which also, Nama, I think, is also the name of a goddess. I feel like it's a Babylonian goddess as well. So they took, this chapter is about exactly how civilization started in a way, in the arts and, the different cultures and whatever. It gets even more diverse after Noah's Ark with his 3 sons, and then those 3 sons.
She's going back to where like Abraham may have come from,
Probably, I mean,
like east of Canaan.
yeah, exactly. Right. I'm sure. It was called Aram. But yes. Okay. And okay, so now here's something else. A whole, what is it? You're still what, freezing?
Yeah, well, it went back to cool instead of.
Why he said the air was, he put it on 74th. He didn't
I don't
necessarily
know.
say he put the heat on.
Well, it doesn't need the heat, but we don't need the fan. It's okay, it's cold. Feel it, that's where now.
Period. Okay.
All these generations of people born and Adam and Eve are still alive.
They're still alive because he's about to have another kid. They're about to have.
Like 4 generations.
Yeah. Well, okay, so there's a midrash that Adam lived 1,000 years or something like that. He lived for a long time.
Sarah had a baby at 90.
Right.
We don't know what that means.
I almost feel like it's the story of gods and goddesses at this point in the way they're archetypes. But we do look at, like, I love the idea that music and arts and instruments were so important in culture that it's already mentioned in the very beginning. Cities, music, culture. So that's already there. Now, this is very weird. Lamech says to his wife. So Abby, it's your turn.
Lamech said to his wife, Ada and Zillah, hear my voice. Your wives.
You wives.
You wives of Lamech, listen to what I say. I have killed a man for wounding me, a young man for striking me. If Cain's revenge is 7-fold, then Lamech's is 77-fold.
Okay, so what does that mean?
Generation, you have isn't that where they say that the next generation?
Right.
Yeah,
Sins of the father.
yeah, thank you.
Yes, but I misread this first too. He is saying somebody tried to kill me and I killed him. I killed a man for wounding me, a young man for striking me. I defended myself.
Right.
So, but really violence has entered the world. That's what I see it as. Violence has entered the world now. With Cain and now his descendants. And that's right. The sins of the father go to 4 generations and
That's why we have a lot of creation stories,
Yeah.
because he kept doing it and men kept.
It's really disappointing that
Why does Lamech think that what he did was worse than what Cain did?
Okay, so Lamech's taunts, threats, and boasts are customarily uttered in ancient times by those about to engage in combat. He is bragging that he does not need divine protection because he can defend himself with the new iron weapons of war. He places his faith in the power of technology. Well, technology of that time, no, but
It was before the Iron Age.
it's pretty interesting.
Cain's revenge, like he hurt his brother more than.
No. God said, I will hurt anyone 7-fold who hits Cain. Remember what God said? And now he's saying, well, if anybody hurts me,
It's
you'll be revenged back 77-fold. But the commentaries are saying not from God, but you think it's your own technology of swords, chariots.
So that
Well, that's what I mean. But the one from 7-fold was from God.
Yeah, right.
Earlier, God put a mark on Cain and said, if anybody tries to hurt you or kill you, you will be. So he's saying, well, I don't need God and I can be revenged 77-fold. You're right. He's saying, I don't need God. He's saying 77-fold from me. I will take revenge 77-fold is what he's saying.
But see, it's interesting because Cain wasn't taking revenge, was he?
No, God said he would take revenge on anyone who hurt Cain.
Oh, so, okay, so.
Lamech is saying he will take personally 77%.
Oh, I see.
Okay, so now we're back to Adam and Eve. So, yes.
I have a question. who is the young man that struck Lamech? There is
We
no
don't
other.
know.
Who is-
A lad.
It's like all of a sudden another tribe is introduced.
Yep, or somebody, we don't
Yeah,
know,
but-
you're right.
But they're not, they're from a different
But
city.
where do these humans come from is the question.
All right, Rebecca, why don't you read, and Adam knew his wife again. 25.
And Adam knew his wife again, and she bore a son and called his name Seth. For she said, God has appointed for me another offspring instead of Abel, for Cain killed him. To Seth also a son was born, and he called his name Enosh. At that time, people began to call upon the name of the Lord.
So that means that they started to pray to God.
Oh, what's it?
Enosh. He had Enosh. Okay, so they had another son, Seth, to replace Abel. Okay, so now I wanted to look at the Midrash because is it 1 o'clock already?
Yeah.
Darn it.
Yeah,
Oh my God. Wow.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Going back to
Time flies when you're having fun.
Well, you know what? We're going to look at the Midrash next time because it's really interesting. It says, what did they quarrel? They said, let us divide the world. One took the land and the other the movables. The former said, the land you stand on is mine, while the latter retorted, well, what you're wearing is mine. One said, strip, and the other said, fly off the ground. And that's when they started fighting. It's really, the Midrash is really interesting about Cain and Abel. And actually, he says, am I my brother's keeper? Hashomer ani anochi. So shomer means guard, and that's another word for God. And so these rabbis reinterpreted it as, am I the keeper or the guard of humanity? Or are you? Because God calls himself Anochi. Anochi, because God says Anochi when he's giving the 10 Commandments, I am the Lord your God. He uses the word Anochi, which is another word for me. So he's saying, you're the guardian of humanity. Why didn't you protect Abel? Why are you blaming me?
Yeah.
I didn't know. I'm a human. I have flaws, but you should have protected him. So there's this really interesting Midrash argument between Cain and God. So if you want to take them home, but we will just look at them. And then the next thing we're going to do is probably Noah and his sons who uncover his nakedness.
Oh, that's a question I have.
Yeah.
Going back to the first time that I was here in person and in Genesis, and it said, and God, they were naked and God clothed them. Well, what was wrong with being naked? That's how he formed them. Why did he feel they should be covered up? And then that wasn't anything we discussed, and that's been in my mind.
Okay. So,
because animals are the way they're born. Yeah.
Right. I think, first of all, it's kind of beautiful that God made them clothes, but they're leaving the garden. They're being kicked out and they're never going to be able to come back. And so they may need clothes outside of the garden, which is the ideal. So we'll need clothes there. Plus they're aware of their own.
Mythology of like, why do humans wear clothes but animals don't?
Because we're cold. And we're vulnerable. We're so fragile, but we're so fragile. We have no covering. You know what I mean? It's amazing that humans survived, primitive man when they had a fight against all these animals and wild animals. And they thought up clothes were ingenious because, protect themselves from the elements, things like that. I don't even know what the first clothes were. They skins or were they?
Yes.
Animal skin.
But
I
I
don't know
mean,
about, I don't know about y'all ladies, but I don't want nobody seeing my boobies, but my man I'm gonna marry.
I've got to leave.
I love
Bye.
you. Gotta
All
go. Bye.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much. It was great. We didn't even such an interesting story. These stories.
Nice to hear from you, Rabbi Nana.
Thank you. Same here.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.